Lives of great men all remind us we can live our lives sublime, and departing leave behind us footprints in the sands of time.
He was born as my cousin, or I was born as his cousin, but he was more like my older brother and definitely a best friend.
God did me a favor in allowing him to be in my life. He did me a favor.
I've known Reverend Jr., as I affectionately call him, since I was a little girl. When I knew me, I basically knew Reverend Jr.
Everything he did, it was basically out of an obligation to continue the family, whether it was go and become senior pastor of Olivet, or even his decision to become president of the SCLC. It was all done out of a sense of duty for family.
A couple of things I remember in particular are driving up to Washington, D.C. with Howard for the Progressive Convention and having a flat along the way, and Howard hitchhiking with a trucker to get a new tire for the car while I waited at the car. Then I remember playing basketball at St. Peter in the gym before it was converted, and how after a couple of times up and down the court, Howard would be gasping for air and beg off so somebody could take his place.
Reverend Creasy was really my pastor, away from my pastor. He was my confidant. He was my friend. But I must say, not only did he love his family, he loved the church, and he loved his friends in the gospel.
I was at his church once, and my wife, and I knew Creasy very intimately, being his neighbor. And he was preaching once, and he stood up into his congregation and said, I'm just a man. And it really, I've been to listened to a lot of pastors and how they preach and how they are so different than the congregation, but his whole sermon was this, that I'm just a man, I'm just like you.
Howard showed me the real definition of a friend.
When Andy and I first got married, he came up to me and hugged me and told me how much he loved me, and he prayed for our marriage. And he said, and I think that you were just the perfect person for him.
And Reverend Creasy was a very generous man, and he loved the vegetables here. We cook the fresh vegetables here at Busy Bee, and he would always love our vegetables.
He could always find his style here because he liked to dress, and he always had a smile on his face, and he's a perfect gentleman all the time.
What stood out to me with Dr. Creasy was, first of all, his political sense, his biblical sense, and then his common sense.
I've only had 2 pastors in my life. They both were Creasys. I'm so sorry.
Whenever my friends would describe him, be like, oh, you're talking about the cute light-skinned pastor? I was like, yeah, that's my pastor. But I never thought of him like that. He was kind of like another father to me.
He was such a great teacher. He would grab your attention, and he would hold your attention.
None of us wanted to be preachers. And so part of what made Howard Jr. so different was that Howard accepted his call at an early age. And then it did not take God long to lift him. I was still in high school when Howard was pastoring.
He would grab me sometime and say, Reg, I want to learn how to hoop. He said, you and Gregory and Jasper, y'all can pull it, man. And he said, I want to do that. I said, well, Howard, you can't do that. You don't qualify. He said, what do you mean I don't qualify? Your hair's too curly. Your hair's too straight. You have to have curly hair to hoop. I said, then you're too white looking. And boy, we would laugh. I used to call him my white brother.